Hi everyone, I'm Allison. Thank you for joining me for Where I'm From 174 with Staci. What have you been reading? I have been reading The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer, who wrote Braiding Sweetgrass, which is, if you're feeling down, a great, beautiful book to read and listen to. And The Serviceberry is a tiny little book about the service and some reciprocity in the natural world. And she talks about how status is determined. I'm inviting you, Staci, and I'm accepting you. And here you are. Oh, it worked. I'm always grateful when it works.
Am I on fully, or am I
You're,
just like my mom and my dad where I'm like here?
no, you're about here.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's funny when that happens. I'm reading this book, The Service Berry, Robin Wall Kimmerer, who wrote Braiding
Braiding
Sweetgrass, which is,
sweetgrass,
yeah.
yeah.
I was sharing this thing that she says in the service economy, status is determined not by how much one accumulates, but how much one gives away.
Mm.
And I just thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah, because when we give away, it's like we always have more,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it comes back. It's the interconnection, right?
Yeah. And if you're truly rich, you have so much to give away, right?
Right.
You're not hoarding
And
it. You're not being
right,
scarce. You're being abundant and
right.
sharing it.
That's fortune,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We Fortune is like time and love and also things and yeah.
Yeah. So that just, I don't know, it made me feel better.
Right, because we can do that now. Well, I mean, we can
Yes.
do that now. We don't have to wait,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We get to decide. I mean, there are people deciding other things right now,
Yes.
and it seems so overwhelming.
Yes.
But part of my piece today is like that I wrote is about learning to plant seeds.
Yeah.
That if we're in the business of sowing,
Yeah.
I mean, if we're in the business of planting, then we know that eventually, they bloom.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, yeah, she just talks about the berries and how they give with no expectation of what will happen next.
Yeah.
And, that I have a lot of oranges in my tree, and it's bringing me a lot of joy to bring little bags of them to people and give them to them. And I was like, here's a book explaining why, because it just is like, I don't know, it's love and abundance, and it's personal. I think also being reminded how much interpersonal connection matters.
Right. I live in this wonderful little neighborhood. My husband and I moved here, and the people who lived in the property before us planted fruit trees
I
everywhere.
love it.
So we have lime, grapefruit, nectarine, apricot, plum, kumquat, and then we planted a lemonade tree.
Oh yeah.
And I think those are all our trees. Yeah. And it's so fun because everyone in our neighborhood has fruit trees, avocado trees, gardens, and then we just put our stuff out in cardboard boxes and
Yeah.
post on our neighborhood site
Yeah.
like, come get your kumquats, come get your grapefruit.
Yeah.
It's really a wonderful thing to feed each other.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I have people walk by sometimes and say, "Is it okay if of course, please."
Yeah. And then I have the lady in my neighborhood who comes by and picks all the limes before we can get to
That
them.
she talks about that too.
But that's okay. We don't really eat a lot of limes. I wasn't saving them for anything.
There's often, yes. That's why I don't just have a sign that says "Take what you like," because it's like I like to share them with lots of people
Right.
and sort of just show up and give people bags. I don't know,
Yeah.
sweet. Um, so Staci, I'm so glad you're here.
Hi,
I
Allison. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm trying to remember, did we meet in Writer's Bridge
I
in
think
a
we must have,
in a breakout
yeah,
room?
or in a
Yeah.
comment. I don't know. You're one of the people who I feel like I know quite well, but have never met.
Right.
Even though we both live in the Los Angeles area.
I
It's
know,
so,
and we're
yeah,
hikers. Crazy.
yeah, we have no excuse other
Yeah.
than life itself.
Well, we have the 405. We have the 405. It's like sitting in that bumper to bumper all day long. It's just wonderful.
But I just, anyway, I'm really happy you're here because you're one of the people who there's so many people. It's a real gift that I feel connected
Yeah.
to because of Allison and Ashley in Writer's Bridge, and you're one of them. And I'm really excited for you to read your poem. It's a journey.
It's a little longer because I'm a little older.
Yeah, there's no such thing as too long. I love seeing how people craft the prompts to where they are in this moment in their life. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of it. It is only one size fits all because it's so immense and editable. You can
Yeah.
do whatever you want. The sizes for
I
everyone.
I love that you do this, Allison, because when we share our stories, right, which is of a giving and is of a service, then the more we hear other people's stories, it's like you don't have to think like me or look like me or pray like me or love like me.
Yeah.
Or we discover that there are similarities that are so deep in the human experience.
Yeah.
And sharing our stories helps us understand each other.
I
We're in such a
agree.
time where everything is so, I feel like binary, right? So black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget that when I say them, I'm actually talking about a person. So who is this person? And I'm not saying all the people are great.
No.
I'm just saying, am I also checking who is this person? What is she doing? Like, am I saying things but doing things differently? What am I doing? I'm here right now. I get to be here right now. What am I
Mm-hmm.
doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's for me, it's been life changing, and it's something I look forward to. And life has been, is full of ups and downs, as you know.
Yeah.
And it's a very special thing to have this to look forward to and to know that I will be connecting with somebody and hearing their story and giving space for their story, because I think lots of times we do things because we feel not seen and erased. And
100%.
so
Yes.
this is my little rock that I'm throwing in the pond
Yeah.
that's saying it matters to take a minute to see and be seen.
And I want to thank you also real quick because this piece that I wrote today,
Mm-hmm.
you got me back into writing after a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Really the first time in my whole adult life that I had a series of obstacles and I
Yeah.
just could not write anymore. I had a writing obstacle, a health obstacle, and I was definitely in that I'm just
Yeah.
lost. And I'm not like, I was in the why and that kind of darker part of the writer's
Yeah.
journey. And so then when you reached out, of course, my inclination was to say, no, thank you. But I just said, Stace, like, life is really, especially the writer's life is about like butt plus chair equals victory.
Yeah.
Sit down in the chair, just try to write something. And then I started writing and I shared with this group of writers, Turning Points writers, shout out Pointer Sisters, that I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this live thing on Instagram and Allison got me writing again.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
I feel like,
I
oh,
might cry.
here I am, still
Yeah.
here. Yeah. Sometimes we're
That's
so
it.
busy posting anger on social media and how can I save the world? And it's like, also
Mm-hmm.
take take care of yourself, do your own artists or whatever your mission is, whatever you choose for it to be.
Yeah. Aw. Thanks, Lavon. That's really sweet.
Oh, Granny
I
has
love
to hold her
jewels
progressives up there. I
is
can
my
see
friend
read it now.
Lavon. So that's really sweet. Thank you. So are you ready to read your
I
poem?
am. I'm 100% nervous. I hate reading in front of
It's
people. I hate being
hard.
on camera. So let's
I
do
mean,
this.
I have the easy part. I
Yeah.
listen.
All right, let's do it. Um, I am from the wilderness, a daughter of cold mountain streams and majestic evergreen trees, under a sky so wide that a child can imagine everything, in spite of what grown-ups believe. I am dancing in an aspen grove, wearing my Aunt Margie's hand-me-down blue prom dress, singing, "The hills are alive," because Mom says people like us don't take dance lessons. I am every broken-hearted heroine who rises again in every movie musical I've ever seen or book that I've read. I am so dramatic. Writing adventure stories, love songs on my guitar, hiding inside of books in the library. I am from the body of big feelings, which makes my family uncomfortable. I am from people who believe the center of my soul is darkness. Save me from Satan, Jesus. And charm school held in the church basement. Cross your ankles so the boys can't see your underpants. I am a nervous young woman, always looking over my shoulder, biting my cuticles until they bleed. I am from big dreams in a small white mountain town with 6 churches and racism, but also high school theater. You're so dramatic. Finally, it's a compliment. Smoking cigarettes, wearing black stage lights, and sharing future plans. I am from the hands of cruel young men and escaping college, packing up an old Subaru like a suitcase, driving west with my stoned little sister, headed for the city of angels with my tearful parents' blessing. Excited, I jump into the world of young, talented dreamers, waiting tables, taking classes, going on auditions. Not pretty enough, not tall enough, not right, try again. Only the trails in the Santa Monica Mountains nourish my soul until I discover the teachings of Buddhism. Learn there are other ways of seeing things, like don't give up and you are enough, and helping others is a place of mission. Don't you know that everything is interconnected? I am chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo in the offices of $12 an hour assistant jobs to becoming a daytime television star, back to $12 an hour assistant jobs, forging a path for myself. I am living alone on a mountaintop. What have I done? I am teaching myself to write a novel. I write one and then the next. Agents come and go. People want them, then they don't. I am from waking up in a labyrinth of mysterious illnesses, pain, fatigue, spinal taps, MRIs, and surgeries with poor health insurance. I am lost on the couch watching other people's lives happen. Marriage, kids, a house. Didn't you used to be? I am turning 40 in my parents' unfinished basement, riddled with shame and medical debt, but chanting, never give up. Plant seeds, walking on the good earth when I can, writing a screenplay about it. I am from people who sit in rush hour traffic in old cars to work at low-wage jobs, can't afford AAA when the heap breaks down, sleeping under leaky apartment ceilings for the lowest rent, dating the wrong, very wrong kind of men, heal their own broken hearts again. I push back against all the worldly no's with inner yeses. And then shortly after 50, I crash into true love on a blind date. I am engaged in Paris, married with an instant family, even grandchildren. Winter has turned to spring. I joined the seasoned group of writers whose books are published later in life. Suddenly, I am starring in my own movie. I am from nature will save your life. I am from find a spiritual practice to save your life. I am from this writing will also save your life. Keep going. Don't stop. Listen. Listen deeper. Keep planting seeds until your wilderness blossoms. Thank you so much for letting me write that. I really appreciate
I
you.
loved it.
Sometimes, we make a place for negativity to
Mhm.
settle. Like
Yeah.
this one thing happens, and then we make a nest and we fill it with all the things that happened, right? And
Yeah.
then suddenly we're like, and so when I wrote this, I realized, oh my gosh, look at this journey. Look at this journey that I decided to take, right? And all the seeds I kept planting, I push back on all the worldly no's with inner yeses, even if the pushback sometimes is just crying or raging or stopping, but you just keep planting seeds.
Yeah. It can be really, you have lots of amazings and beautiful, Stacy, and wow. I don't know if you can see them, but
If
they're there.
if I push up my progressive lenses, I can. Oh,
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 progressives.
thank you, my friends, for coming. This is also such great fortune in life to have good friends. I mean, I can't
Mm,
imagine a greater fortune. You
yeah.
know, my husband, my family, my good friends. My gosh, especially the last few years.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, you, yeah, I was really moved by your poem, and it has a happy ending, but I wanted to say that I'd be moved by it regardless
Oh,
because of all of just the life that you have lived and continued to plant seeds. And and I think sometimes people wonder when their happy ending is coming. And aw, Larry, you're gonna make me
Hi,
cry.
Larry, you are my fortune. So, the thing about a happy ending is, of course, then you get to start anew, right? Then you have a new journey, right? So then the last couple of years, right? Lots of new journey for me, like a publication gone wrong and breast cancer twice and all kinds of things because life continues. But because I have built a kind of fortune in my life, I feel so
Yeah,
supported even as I move forward in these new experiences.
yeah,
That's true for all of
yeah,
us, right? It's like we have to remember that, we're always creating a fortune for ourselves,
yeah.
because you are your fortune.
Yes,
You
and
are.
we have to give ourselves what we want. We can't wait for someone to give it to
That's
us
exactly right.
because it might not ever come that way. In my experience, it's a slow train if you're waiting for someone else, but you can continue to give yourself what you need.
Right. And then the environment reflects that back,
I
right?
think
Because, like in
so.
Buddhism, we say the environment is just a mirror of the inner state of life of the
Yeah.
people, right? So it's like at some point, like turning 40 in my parents' basement, I was like, look, dude, you got yourself here. So you can get yourself out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad you did. That's
I think
I think
my
it's
parents are too.
so where was this? What was the mountain town?
In
Okay,
Colorado,
I thought
in
so.
yeah, in the woods in Colorado. Yeah, we moved up there in the 70s and
Okay.
sort of did slightly off the grid,
Okay.
our own well, our own septic tank. We had
Wow.
solar
Oh, you
power,
were really
you know.
ahead of the
On the
curve.
weekends, we chopped wood for the winter, but it was also so beautiful
Yeah.
and so free, right?
Yeah. I went, I don't know why I'm not giving you the thumbs up. I do not like
Chop
that
your own
predictive.
wood, carry your
No,
own
yeah.
water.
My thumb wasn't even in the screen.
At least it wasn't this.
Right. Oh
Ah,
no, it didn't do it for you. Because I do like this one, but I can't
yeah.
always make it happen.
Ah,
Hey.
hey.
Um, I went to high school in Boulder, so I don't know what tiny town you're from, but
It used to be tiny. It's called Conifer, Colorado. My
okay.
parents had a cabin in Aspen Park. Shout
Okay.
out Conifer. And now it's because cities grow. Now
Yeah.
it's more like it's not a suburb, but it has stoplights and things now. It
Right.
has a grocery store. It has, its own high school.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah, it changes for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I I really appreciated in your poem too, like you're living with the two truths. It was a beautiful place, and I was being taught things that were not always beautiful, you know.
Right. Yeah. But nature is such an amazing thing because nature says, oh my gosh, look, you're connected to everything
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
just a part of it. Yeah.
And it's always there,
Right.
no matter what. So you sort of spoke to it, but anything else you want to say about what it was like for you to write this poem or the process?
I I
Covered
think
it.
I did it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very freeing. Yeah. Mostly it was very freeing. Thank you, because now I feel like I'm a person who gets up and goes to her desk and writes.
Oh,
How lucky I am.
that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Um, so what made was it a decision to cover your life as opposed to your childhood, or did it just
It just
come? Yeah.
came. Yeah. The childhood, yes, it had a religious teaching that didn't work for me personally,
Hmm.
but it also had so much. I mean, my parents gave us a real gift moving us to the mountains,
Hmm.
because you really do get to imagine everything. You're absolutely free to just run through the woods with your little dog and take your guitar to the mountaintop and write a really bad song and,
Yeah. I could really
sleep
picture
under the
you.
stars.
Yeah. Yeah, I could really picture you doing the Sound of Music in your hand-me-down prom
I
dress. Like
totally
those.
did. My Aunt
Yeah.
Margie totally did. Yeah, my sister and I put on full on musicals all the time in the living room. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very evocative memory. So I've sort of it's been a
Expression.
week.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
been
I
a
know.
week.
It has
So
been a week. Yeah.
um personally and globally. And I'm so glad to just sort of be sitting here with you and your poem it just spoke to me about the journey that we're all on, and that we don't know where we're headed, and that can be so scary because we all believe we want answers, but there aren't any, and
Yeah.
it's okay.
It's
I have
okay.
to keep telling myself that.
It's mostly what we decide to do with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really, I did think, oh my gosh, I had all these amazing breakthroughs later in life. I'm a late bloomer. And then, I had, waited so long. I'd worked so hard to get a published novel. And then it turned out to be like, from the upside down world experience.
I know. I'm so
And
sorry for that,
I
Staci.
was so angry. I
Yeah.
was so upset.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've worked so hard for this, but then I had to remind myself, like, then I don't have yet what I am working toward. Then this is
Yeah.
just another experience. Write another book. It's like we tend to think of things as that's the answer. Here's your
Yeah.
horrible answer. Here's your terrible outcome. And yes, I mean, breast cancer may be the end of me. Yes, that may be the only book I ever write, but not today.
Yeah.
So, and yes, terrible things are happening in the world or in my home or in my body but not right at this moment. So
Yeah.
I still have to decide, right?
Mm.
The other day I posted like Carole King, you got to get up every morning and decide you're beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Go out there, just I'm beautiful, man. And, you know,
Well, if the answers aren't written, I think can be very scary that the answers aren't written, but it's also hopeful. The answers aren't
right.
written. We don't know.
And maybe
And
there are no answers. Maybe it's all gray, but maybe we're also made up of stars. And maybe right now we're just stars in these bodies going around thinking all these grandiose things. And then we're back into the stars again. And, and maybe it's all okay. And even as it's really bad, it's not really bad for you and me right now in this sense of how it's bad for other people, maybe in other places in the world. I mean, I'm not in a cage yet. My home hasn't been bombed. It's like, what can I do today? How can I, but maybe I feel
yeah.
like I get inside and that's okay too. I just feel like how can I help? How can I help? Right?
Yeah.
That's how I decided. I turned 60 in last May and I was like, how can I help? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I listened to this interview on Wiser Than Me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you listen to Wiser Than Me with
Yes, not every
Julia Louis?
time, but I have listened to many of
And,
them.
and Jane Fonda talked
Oh, I
about
listened to Jane Fonda.
her three acts, right? So her third act, the year
Yeah.
she turned 59,
I
she
thought
just
that was a
wrote,
really, really beautiful.
yeah.
So if you can explain it, but I just
I
was struck
followed
by
her
it when,
journey. She was
yeah,
like, I did this in my first act, then my
yeah,
second act was 40 to 60. And at the year she turned 59, she was like, I don't know what I want the last act to be. If I'm lucky enough to live 60 to 90, man, what's it gonna? So she wrote about what she had done. So maybe in that sense, what I wrote today is a sense of I've gotten to here.
yeah,
So what do I want the next act to look like? And all I know is I want to help. I don't even know
yeah,
what that means, but I know it means I have to break down barriers inside of myself
yeah,
that keep me from helping in ways that are actually helpful. Right?
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of us have to reconsider a lot of things, what those
Yeah.
words mean to us and what
Yeah.
those actions are. And I think for me, reading this book, The Service Berry, lots of things I read and interact with and talk about with close friends is like, I actually think lots of times it's about being more gentle with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
because I definitely grew up like it had to be hard. I had to work hard. I had to
Mm-hmm.
do things that were uncomfortable in order for them to be of worth. And then over time, especially since the pandemic, and I was really sitting with a lot of things because all of us were sitting with a lot of things. Actually, who I am and what comes naturally to me and what feels good to me has worth. And
Mm-hmm.
that has been a real change for me, and continuing to do those things and believe that just because it becomes easy for me doesn't mean it's worthless. Like that was a big change for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that puritanical a belief of, if I'm not like, if
Right.
this is not hard as rock, it's not, But
Yeah.
it's like, well, you know, the obstacles are going to come one way or the
Hmm.
other, and we can
Yeah.
just go through the obstacle, right? Like in Buddhism, we say the obstacle is the answer to your prayer, grow
Yeah.
muscles.
Yeah.
So I'm just so yeah. So the worth is just walking through the world, how you
Yeah.
walk through the world. Yeah, that in itself is of a challenge when you know
Yeah.
people choose how
Yes.
they walk through the world in all kinds of unhelpful ways all the time.
Yeah. Just being present and being, well, like you say, to help whatever words you use that you are, yeah, helping, not hurting.
Yeah, and that includes yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to
Yeah,
start,
we
you got
are
to start at
always
home.
hardest. We are always hardest on ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a while ago, even before the pandemic, that I realized, oh, I shouldn't talk to myself in a way I wouldn't talk to anybody else. But
Right.
when I realized that, that was also a big change where it's like, I would never say these things to someone I
Hmm.
love. Why do I feel
Hmm.
comfortable saying them to myself? So comfortable.
Right.
Hmm.
I relate to that completely. Yeah. When I was young, I was really, really, I'm still hard on myself, but not in the same way that I used to be.
Right.
So cruel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Self-loathing. That was definitely
mhm.
my poison of choice. So it's nice. It's nice not to hate myself.
It's so freeing.
Hmm.
It's so freeing. And then you can help others learn how to not do that also, to just,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, why? That's a lot of
Yeah.
energy I'm
It's
expending. Uh,
true. And having all these expectations on yourself and then not meeting them, it's like, well, that's, I mean, there's all different kinds of ways to be in the world. If you're listening to other people tell you how to be in the world, which I think social media really does, you
yeah.
know, um,
Yeah.
don't like listen here first. How, you know, what do I want my life to look like? That's the advantage of being 60 is it's like now I can say, well, you know, when I'm, you know, take that last breath in this lifetime, what do I want to feel like? What do I want to feel like? That was really good. I really took on a lot of stuff, or I really, you know, had fun or joy, or even in spite of what I was walking through at the time, or you know, whatever it is, like, it's like, what do I want it to be? You know,
Well, and I
we have
thought
to sometimes
that,
have a long range view to get out of a, you know, particular sticky spot, you know?
well, and I wanted to say that was, I loved what Jane Fonda said too about the third act, that it was, you know, because this resonated with me. You watch movies, right? You like the first and the second act. You think, oh, it's headed somewhere. Like this is going, and the third act's really going to wrap it up. But then lots of movies you watch, the third act does not wrap it up, and you wonder what they were doing
Right.
and why they ended it this way. And she said, you know, I wanted a third act that made it all make sense, that made
Right.
all the things that I experienced and I did, that it all made sense. And I just thought that was really hopeful,
Right.
like that everything we're doing leads to it all kind of coming together in a way that makes sense.
Right.
Um,
But you
and
have to
she
remember
has.
the third act works. The third act works when the hero undergoes the obstacles and the
Yeah,
change
you gotta go
before
through
the
the change.
breakthrough. Before the
Hmm.
breakthrough, it's like, what does the character need to change inside that changes the situation, right? And
Hmm.
then also I feel like we make sense of our
Yeah,
life, right?
yeah.
We decide, oh,
Hmm.
that's what this is for, or oh, that's why I was here this time, or oh, you know.
Yeah. And I was just really moved because she has done. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Jane Fonda. I grew up on her doing aerobics in my, living room, and just I've always really admired her,
Yeah.
even as she stumbled for other people. I just have always admired her doing things. She's a doer, and
And
I
learning
just,
and saying,
yeah,
hey, I was
yeah,
wrong, or I mean, that's why I love the Wiser Than Me
yeah,
podcast, you
for
know.
sure.
Listen to old women, mother effers, right?
Yeah,
Like elderly, older women,
yeah,
we have so much to share,
yeah,
you know. I
yeah,
know we mostly learn from personal experience, and it's hard when you try to, you know, talk to a younger person, like, you know, you don't have to do it this way, or maybe because we learn mostly through experience. But
yeah.
I did learn through that podcast with Jane Fonda because I was 59 when I listened to it,
Mm.
and I was like, oh man, I'm going to really think about the third act.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's I mean, I'm sure you've seen all the things that talk about as women age, the reason that society is like, not interested in them is because we're no longer like caring for people. It's no longer our number one biological imperative. Once we go through menopause, we actually get to care for ourselves and be wise and share what we've learned. And, historically,
Right.
society is like, nope.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I, I think it's very exciting that more and more women who are older are speaking up and sharing
Yeah.
what they know. And I think obviously we could listen more, but I feel like we're listening more than we have in the past. And I think
Yeah.
that is hopeful.
Yeah. We can keep listening and sharing,
Mhm.
and it's like I always wanted to be an old woman when I was young.
Oh.
And I mean, especially when I was a young actor on TV, it was
Mm.
so much about what you looked like,
Yeah.
so much, and
Yeah.
never pretty enough, never.
No.
And
Thin enough.
I was so happy to bring on the wrinkles. I mean, now
Mm.
that the wrinkles are here and the circles are here, and I'm all, oh, this is really challenging. It's getting older is not for sissies. It's really hard,
I know. It is
because it
how we change.
involves also saying goodbye to a lot of
Yeah.
things. So you have to be sure that you have things you also are looking forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's complicated, but I think the only way we can continue doing it is to talk about it and share it with people and not hide
Right.
it in a closet somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretend it's not happening.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. I definitely am just like, here I am, worries, dented boobs, you know,
yeah,
need my progressive, still moving, so grateful to still be
right.
moving, so grateful to
That's how
still
I
be
feel every day.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Every day I get up on my feet and thank you. I need to think it more even, but thank you, feet. Like you work, I'm standing on you. My legs,
Yeah.
all of it. Then I get to take walks and do all the things I do. It's,
100%. Yep.
it's a
Absolutely.
gift. Um, well, anything else, Stacy? I've really been teary.
Oh,
I've been, I think I'm on the other side. I was feeling so much rage and now I'm like feeling the grief, and the sadness, and that's okay.
yeah.
It's
It's
part of the
okay.
process.
It is. Yeah. I think that um, a waking up from the land of delusion can be really painful. And then we sort of rub our eyes and we say, this is not what I thought. Um, what now? And it's okay. And what can I do? And then start asking a lot of questions,
Yeah, and just being with
and
people for me.
just, and yeah, yeah, that's what I mean, like asking questions and then watching others and caring for people who are more vulnerable. And yeah. And then joining each other in a goal, right? Joining each other in a goal, like all different kinds of people coming together toward a goal,
Yeah.
and what is that goal? It's like, let's be together. Let's have peace. Let's make this a better place for everybody. Even if they don't look like you, pray like you, think like you,
Yeah,
you
we have
know,
enough. We can share it.
we really do. Yeah. And we can make more.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can just build bigger tables and, bigger places. And I'd like to say that this might be, also in Buddhism, I'll say one more thing. I say that a lot. Also in Buddhism, we, we say that, because I don't think it's coming from me, great evil portends great good, right? And I feel like if the people wake up, right, can this be like a last gasp? Every morning when I get up to do my Buddhist chanting, I'm imagining and then the people stepped from their homes and they rubbed their eyes and they looked around and they saw each other as friends. Oh my gosh, you're my friend. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I know that it seems impossible, right? But everything always seems impossible at first. I'm like, there are great teachers from the past who have shown us that it's not impossible. So just, we just keep moving. This is the world, right?
Well, and we keep doing, we keep giving what we want. We keep being the people we want to meet.
That's right.
And we meet more people like that. And that has
That's
been
right.
true in my life. It has changed over the
Yeah.
decades, like more than I can really describe. Like
Mm.
I used to have very few people in my life that I felt safe around, and now I have lots. And that to me is proof that change is
That's
possible.
right. Yeah. Change in our own lives. That's right. Like a ripple effect, right?
Yeah. it's possible.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone has people in their lives that make them feel safe. It is a real
Yeah.
gift.
Yeah. And I think when we make ourselves feel safe first, I remember one time in my 30s, I, was dating, one of those, like, this is not the right person for you. Um, and he was, a photographer, and he lived in his art studio, and he was
Sounds
just
very
like
cool.
a Renaissance guy. He built everything, and he made his own music and his own instruments and and it was such a it was awful. He was not a great boyfriend. I got sick. He went on vacation with someone else. And I remember I had a therapist at the time who was just like, instead of dating those guys, why don't you just become that kind of person? Because that's clear. And I was like, oh, I can be a Renaissance woman.
Right.
I can, it really was helpful to me, because you can be your own safe place, right? So you can start trusting yourself until you know how to create a
Right.
safe,
And to
happy
listen to
friendship.
yourself when you don't feel safe. Believe
That's
yourself.
right. Yeah. Believe yourself. That is so true.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true too, Staci. Like historically, women weren't allowed to be all those things.
I
So I
know.
think it makes a lot of sense that so many of us look to men to fulfill that. And then you realize, oh, I can, like you say, you can do it yourself.
Yeah. You question your inner voice. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to give ourselves a lot of grace and kindness
Yeah.
because we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
um, but thank you. I'm so grateful that you said yes. That even though you weren't writing
Thank you
and
for
the
asking me.
invitation
I
was a
tried to
little
can
intimidating,
I
I'm
wanted
glad
to
you said
cancel
yes.
I wanted to cancel a couple times, and then I reached out to you, and
People
I was like,
do.
this could be really bad.
I
I'm
know,
just
which is
warning
just
you.
no. I've never felt that way because I think the act of having just reading it out loud, knowing you're going to read it out loud, I think people are going to show up with
Yeah.
something that is meaningful to them, whatever form that takes. So I actually don't worry about it ever being bad. I just don't think it would be. So yours wasn't. It isn't. Thank you.
That's just part
Guys.
of that loop, that cycle we talk about where we're the
Yeah.
inner critic. And then,
Yeah.
so thank you again for helping me show up.
Oh, it was my pleasure. One of these days we are going to meet in real
Yeah.
life.
We will
So
go for a hike. We will put our feet on good earth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Thank you to everyone who joined us. Staci has
Thank
a,
you,
a
everybody.
really supportive crew, and I'm not surprised because you're very supportive. So it was
Oh, they're
lovely to
awesome.
see all of your names show up here, and thank you so much, Staci.
Mwah, mwah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.